My name is Ileana Mercer. I'm 33 years old. And 7 months ago, I thought I was going to marry the man I trusted most. His name was Ryan Calloway. We had been together for 3 years. We met at a work event through mutual friends. The kind of night where everyone is laughing too loudly under warm hotel ballroom lights, holding cheap champagne and pretending not to check who was watching them. Ryan stood out immediately. He was charming without trying too hard. Funny in a quiet way. And he had this talent for making people feel like they were the only person in the room. I loved that about him. I thought it meant he was kind, loyal, stable. The kind of man people gathered around because he made life feel lighter. His best friend, Mark, had been part of the package from the beginning. They had known each other since college. They watched games together. I took weekend trips, grabbed drinks after work, and talked constantly. I never had a problem with it. I believed healthy relationships needed outside friendships. I didn't want to be the kind of woman who resented every person her fiancé cared about. Then, 2 months before everything collapsed, Ryan started changing, not all at once. That would have been easier to notice. It was little things at first. His phone turned face down. His answers became shorter. He started saying he needed quiet time to study for a certification exam for work. And Mark's apartment was apparently the perfect place for that, because our apartment was too distracting. I believed him. Or maybe I wanted to. Last Thursday, I took the day off work. I had errands to run, bills to sort out. Small, boring things that make you feel like life is still under control. Around 2 in the afternoon, I drove past the complex where Mark lived. Ryan's car was in the parking lot. That should have reassured me. Instead, something cold moved through my stomach. Mark lived in the same apartment complex as us. Just a different building. I had been there plenty of times for dinners, birthdays, casual nights where everyone brought takeout and pretended paper plates counted as hosting. I knocked. Mark opened the door and froze. "Ileana," he said. Too quickly. "Hey, what are you doing here? Just nearby." I said, "Thought I'd say hi. Is Ryan here?" His eyes flicked over my shoulder toward the parking lot. "Ryan?" "Yes. My fiancé. He said he'd be studying here today." Mark's face lost color. "He's not here. His car is outside. He must have gotten a ride somewhere. I haven't seen him." The lie was almost painful to watch. His hand tightened on the doorframe. He wouldn't look directly at me. "Can I come in for a minute?" I asked. "I want to leave him a note. This isn't really a good time. It'll take 2 seconds." He hesitated long enough to answer without speaking. Then, he stepped aside. "Fine." Quickly. Though, I walked in. His apartment was small. A studio layout where you could see everything from the doorway, couch, desk, kitchenette, unmade bed. No Ryan. No books. No laptop. No coffee cups. No evidence that anyone had been studying anything. I turned back to Mark. "Where is he really?" "I told you. I don't know." My phone had been on silent all morning. I pulled it from my pocket and saw 3 missed calls from Ryan. 2 texts. "Where are you? Why aren't you answering?" I showed Mark the screen. "He's looking for me," I said. "Probably wants to coordinate the story." Mark didn't answer. Then his phone rang. "Ryan." Mark looked at the phone. Then at me. Then back at the phone. "You should answer it," I said softly. "I don't think." "Answer it." He did. Maybe because he panicked. Maybe because guilt makes people careless. He put it on speaker. Ryan's voice came through low and urgent. "If she asks, say, I'm at your place studying." The room went completely still. Mark's eyes widened. I was standing 2 feet away. I reached out and took the phone from his hand. "She doesn't need to ask," I said. Silence. Then Ryan breathed my name. "Ileana." "Yes." "Why are you there?" "Because you're supposedly here studying." "Remember, I can explain. I'm sure you can. Come home. I ended the call and handed the phone back to Mark. Thanks for the honesty, I said. Really. Beautiful loyalty. Mark swallowed hard. I'm sorry. He asked me to cover. I didn't want to lie. But he's my best friend. And I'm his fiancé. He looked down. Guess we know where priorities are, I said. I drove home before Ryan did, and sat on the couch, in the silence of the apartment we had chosen together. The same apartment where wedding invitation samples still sat on the dining table. Ivory paper. Gold lettering. A life we had been pretending was solid. Ryan came in 30 minutes later. He looked guilty. Defensive. Ready to fight. Why did you go to Mark's apartment? He snapped. Why did you lie about being there? I wasn't lying. You called him and told him to lie for you. I was going to be there. I just stopped somewhere first. Where? That's not important. It's very important. He dragged a hand through his hair. I needed space. Space doesn't require a cover story. I knew you'd react like this. Like what? Like someone who just heard her fiancé whisper instructions for his best friend to lie. He sat down. Jaw tight. You hover. Ileana. You always want to know where I am. I stopped by, because I was nearby. And thank God I did. I didn't want questions. Then don't create answers you have to hide. We argued for over an hour. He said he needed privacy. I said privacy was not the same as deception. He said I didn't understand pressure. I said I understood being made into a fool. That night, we went to bed angry. He turned away from me. I stared at the ceiling, listening to his breathing, wondering where he had really been, and worse, wondering who had been worth lying for. I barely slept that night. Every time I closed my eyes, I heard Ryan's voice again. If she asks, say I'm at your place studying. Not because of what he said, because of how naturally he said it. There was no hesitation, no guilt, no pause. Just a man who had clearly rehearsed deception enough times that it had become routine. The next morning, Ryan left for work before sunrise. He kissed my forehead before leaving. The gesture almost made me laugh. Not because it was funny, because it was absurd. A few hours earlier we had been arguing about lies. And now he was pretending we were still the same couple. I waited until I heard his car leave the parking garage. Then I called in sick. There was no chance I could focus on work. My thoughts kept circling the same questions. Where had he really been? Who was worth risking our engagement for? And why had Mark looked so terrified? Around noon, I made a decision I wasn't proud of. Ryan had never changed his passcode. For 3 years, neither of us had hidden our phones. Trust had always been the foundation of our relationship. Or, at least I had believed it was. I picked up his tablet from the living room. The device was synced to his messages. For several minutes, I stared at the screen. I could still walk away. I could still pretend I hadn't seen the cracks forming beneath us. Instead, I opened the messages. Most of them were ordinary. Work conversations, family group chats, fantasy football discussions. Then I found a thread attached to a number with no saved name. My stomach tightened. Dozens of messages. Weeks of conversations. Some had already been deleted. The remaining ones were enough. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Yesterday was amazing. I keep thinking about what you said. Miss you already? When can we do that again? I felt the blood drain from my face. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. The room suddenly seemed smaller, hotter, like the walls were closing in around me. I took screenshots. Every message, every timestamp, every piece of evidence. Then, I emailed them to myself. When I finished, I carefully closed everything and returned the tablet exactly where I had found it. An hour later, Ryan came home for lunch. I was sitting at the kitchen table pretending to scroll through my phone. He smiled. You okay? Just tired. Me too. He poured himself coffee. Acted completely normal. As if another woman wasn't occupying space inside our relationship. As if I hadn't spent the entire morning watching our future collapse. That night, he fell asleep within minutes. I remained awake for hours. Eventually, I reached for my phone. The unknown number was still saved from the screenshots. I stared at it, then pressed call. It rang twice. A woman answered. Hello. Her voice sounded younger than I expected. Confident, comfortable. The kind of voice that had no reason to be nervous. Who is this? She asked. I swallowed. I'm calling Ryan's phone. He must have left it somewhere. Silence. Then, this isn't Ryan. I know. More silence. I'm Ileana. The line went quiet. I'm Ryan's fiancé. Nothing. Then I heard a sharp inhale. Who are you? The call disconnected. Just like that? I immediately called back. Voicemail. Again. Voicemail. She had blocked me. My hands were shaking. I sent a text. We need to talk about Ryan. No response. Nothing. The silence told me more than words could have. A woman with innocent intentions doesn't panic when a fiancé calls. A woman with nothing to hide doesn't disappear. For 3 days, I said nothing. I watched. I listened. I paid attention. And Ryan kept lying. Tuesday afternoon arrived. He grabbed his keys and backpack. I'm heading to Mark's place. My heart sank. Another study session. Another lie. Good luck, I said. He smiled. Thanks. Then, he kissed my cheek. The casual affection nearly broke me. 10 minutes after he left, I grabbed my purse and followed. I hated myself for it. People call it toxic, controlling, obsessive. Maybe they're right. But there comes a point where you're no longer looking for trust. You're looking for reality. Ryan didn't drive to Mark's apartment. Not even close. He crossed town and pulled into a small coffee shop I had never seen before. I parked across the street. Mi puls hemel in mi ears. 20 minutes later, she arrived. A woman with dark hair and a cream-colored coat. Beautiful, confident, familiar. It took me several seconds to place her. Then realization hit. Vanessa, Ryan's ex-girlfriend. The woman he had dated before me, the woman he always claimed was ancient history. The woman he insisted he never spoke to anymore. My stomach dropped. She walked inside. Minutes later, Ryan emerged with her. They were laughing. Not touching. Not kissing. Somehow, that made it worse. Physical cheating can happen in a moment. Emotional intimacy takes time. Investment. Choice. They walked to her car together. Ryan opened the passenger door for her. The gesture felt intimate. Automatics. Like something he'd done countless times. I followed from a distance. The drive ended at a park, near the river. They sat on a bench beneath tall trees, talking, laughing, sharing secrets. The kind of conversations that were supposed to belong to us. At one point, Vanessa leaned her head against his shoulder. Ryan wrapped an arm around her. He didn't hesitate. Didn't pull away. Didn't look uncomfortable. He looked happy. I felt something inside me crack. Not explode. Not shatter. Just crack. Like ice giving way beneath too much pressure. I took photographs. Not for revenge. For proof. Because gaslighting makes you question your own eyes. Because lies make you doubt your instincts. Because I needed evidence that this was real. An hour later, they returned to Vanessa's car. They sat inside talking. 20 minutes. 30. I couldn't see through the tinted windows. I didn't need to. Eventually, Ryan got out. Vanessa touched his arm before he left. He smiled at her. A smile I hadn't seen in months. Then, he drove home. I waited 15 minutes before following. When I walked through our apartment door, Ryan was already making dinner. The smell of garlic filled the kitchen. He looked up and smiled. Hey. Hey. How was your day? I stared at him. At the ease of the deception. At the complete absence of guilt. Fine, I said. How was yours? He didn't even blink. Good. A pause. Then, productive. Got a lot of studying done. I almost laughed. Instead I smiled. That's great. His shoulders relaxed. He believed. I believed him. And that realization hurt more than the lie itself. Later that night, after he fell asleep, I sat alone on the balcony. The city lights shimmered in the distance. Cars moved like streams of gold beneath the darkness. I thought about Vanessa. About the messages. About the lies. About the way Ryan had looked at her. Not like a man having an affair, like a man building a future. And for the first time, a terrible possibility entered my mind. Maybe I wasn't the woman he was choosing anymore. Maybe I was simply the woman he hadn't left yet. That thought stayed with me long after midnight. Because somewhere deep inside, I already knew the truth. I just wasn't ready to say it out loud. The next morning, I woke up before Ryan. For several minutes, I lay there staring at the ceiling while he slept beside me. The strange thing about betrayal is that it doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes it looks like the person you love sleeping peacefully while your entire world is falling apart. Ryan looked exactly the same. Same face, same voice, same man I had agreed to marry. Yet somehow, he felt like a stranger. A week earlier, I would have trusted him with everything. Now I didn't trust a single word that came out of his mouth. When he finally woke up, he smiled. Morning. Morning. He kissed my forehead. Again. That tiny gesture felt almost cruel now, as if he still wanted the benefits of being loved while quietly building something with someone else. He left for work 20 minutes later. I sat at the kitchen table long after the door closed, thinking, planning, trying to understand how deep the lies really went. Then I remembered something. Ryan and I shared the same mobile phone plan. A small detail, one I had never paid attention to before. That afternoon, curiosity pushed me into the account portal. What I found changed everything. Location services, usage records, connected devices. Nothing illegal, nothing hidden, just information available to account holders. Information Ryan never thought I would check. I hesitated. Part of me knew crossing that line meant there would be no going back. But another part of me already knew our relationship was hanging by a thread. Eventually, I activated the location feature. Then I waited. At first, I felt guilty, ashamed, like I had become someone I didn't recognize. But guilt faded quickly when the first lie appeared. Ryan texted me around 1 o'clock. Heading to Mark's place to study. Love you. 10 minutes later, his phone appeared across town. At Vanessa's neighborhood. Not Mark's. Not even close. I stared at the screen. My heart didn't race anymore. That surprised me. Maybe because shock has limits. Maybe because, once you see enough evidence, the pain transforms into certainty. I took screenshots. The next day it happened again. And again. And again. 4 separate visits in 7 days. Every single one disguised as studying. Every single one accompanied by a lie. I created a folder. Screenshots. Locations. Times. Message. Photographs. A timeline. An entire relationship reduced to evidence. By Thursday night, I couldn't carry it anymore. Ryan came home around 8. Smiling. Relaxed. Happy. He kissed my cheek. I nearly flinched. We need to talk, I said. His smile disappeared. The words alone told him trouble was waiting. I placed my phone on the dining table. Sit down. He did. Then I opened the folder. The screenshots appeared, one after another. Dates. Location. Maps. Photos. Ryan's face drained of color. What is this? You tell me. His eyes moved across the screen. Panic flashed across his face. Then Anga, you're tracking me. I laughed. A short, bitter sound. That's your concern. This is insane. Eliana. No. Lying to your fiancé for months is insane. You violated my privacy. You destroyed my trust. That's not the same thing. You're right. It's worse. For several seconds neither of us spoke. Then, I opened the photographs. The park, the bench, Vanessa leaning against him, his arm around her. The color vanished from his face completely. He looked trapped, cornered, exposed. Who is she? I asked. He already knew I knew. Still? He whispered. Vanessa. His ex-girlfriend. The woman he supposedly hadn't spoken to in years. The woman he had somehow found his way back to. How long? Ryan looked away. A few months. The answer hit me harder than I expected. A few months. Not weeks. Months. Long enough to build habits. Long enough to build feelings. Long enough to destroy an engagement. What exactly is happening between you two? His hands trembled. We're friends. I stared at him. He couldn't even say it with conviction. We talk. About what? Life. I laughed again. That bitter laugh was becoming familiar. Life. Things I can't talk about with you. The words landed like a slap. What things? Ryan swallowed. The wedding? I froze. The wedding. I've been scared. The room became very quiet. Outside. Rain tapped softly against the windows. Inside. My future unraveled. I didn't know if I was making the right decision. I felt tears gathering, but refused to let them fall. So instead of talking to me, you talked to your ex-girlfriend. He didn't answer, because there was no defense. No explanation. No version of reality where that sounded acceptable. I didn't mean for this to happen. The sentence made me furious. People always say that after making hundreds of deliberate choices, I didn't mean for this to happen. I repeated. You called her? Silence. You texted her? Silence. You met her repeatedly? Silence. You lied. Silence. You had Mark lying for you. More silence. Nothing about this accidentally happened. Ryan lowered his head. For the first time. He looked ashamed. But shame wasn't enough anymore. I needed truth. Are you sleeping with her? His eyes widened. No. The answer came instantly. Too instantly. For some reason. I believed him. And somehow that hurt even more. Because this wasn't physical. This was emotional. Intentional. Personal. He wasn't choosing Vanessa's body. He was choosing her presence. Her attention. Her understanding. Her future. And that felt worse. The argument continued for hours. Round and round. The same excuses. The same denials. The same justifications. Eventually, Ryan grabbed a pillow and blanket. I'm sleeping in the guest room. Fina. He stopped at the doorway. For a moment, I thought he might apologize. Instead, he said, You never trusted me. I looked at him in disbelief. Then, the door closed. That night, I sat alone in the darkness, scrolling through evidence, photographs, messages, location, trying to understand how someone could become a stranger while still sharing your home. Around noon the following day, my phone rang. Mark. I almost ignored it. Almost. Instead, I answered, Hello. His voice sounded nervous, uneasy, like a man carrying something heavy. Iliana. What? Silence. Then, I need to tell you something. A chill ran through me. What is it? More silence. Then he finally spoke, and the moment he did, I knew whatever came next would be worse than anything I had already discovered. Ryan is planning to leave you. My heart stopped. He told me this morning. The room spun. What are you talking about? He's moving out this weekend. I couldn't breathe. He never said anything. I know. Mark sounded miserable. He planned to do it while you were at work. I gripped the phone tighter. Where is he going? Mark hesitated, then whispered, Vanessa's place? Everything inside me went cold. And in that moment, I realized the engagement wasn't dying. It was already dead. I just hadn't been informed yet. For several seconds after Mark ended the call, I simply sat there, motionless, silent, numb. The apartment around me felt strangely distant. As if I were looking at my own life through a window. Ryan was planning to leave. Not someday. Not eventually. This weekend. The man who had promised forever was preparing an exit strategy. The worst part wasn't that he wanted someone else. The worst part was that he intended to disappear without giving me the dignity of the truth. No conversation. No honesty. No goodbye. Just an empty closet and a missing fiancé. I looked around the apartment we had built together. The framed photos. The wedding catalogs. The furniture. We spent months choosing. Every corner held memories. Now every memory felt contaminated. I stood up slowly. Then I made a decision. If Ryan wanted to leave, he could leave. But he wasn't going to control how the story ended. At 3 o'clock, I left work early and drove home. His car wasn't there. Good. I walked inside and stood in the middle of the living room. The silence felt heavy. Final. I took a deep breath. Then, I started packing. Shirts, shoes, jackets, books, toiletries, everything. 3 years of a shared life, reduced to cardboard boxes. At first, I cried. Then the tears stopped. Eventually, there was only focus. By 5 o'clock, every belonging Ryan owned was stacked neatly beside the front door. Then I called a locksmith. An hour later, the locks were changed. New keys, new access, new boundaries. The apartment suddenly felt different. Not healed, but protected. As evening approached, I sat on the couch staring at my phone, thinking, remembering, questioning. Part of me wanted revenge. Part of me wanted closure. Mostly, I wanted truth. And truth was the one thing nobody involved seemed willing to provide. Then I remembered something. Ryan had spent months constructing a network of lies. Vanessa knew. Mark knew. Ryan knew. I was the only person who had been left in the dark. No more. I opened a new group message. Ryan, Mark, Vanessa. 3 names. 3 people connected by the same deception. My fingers hovered over the screen. Then I typed, I believe everyone deserves the same information. Ryan has been secretly meeting Vanessa for months while engaged to me. Mark has been helping cover for him. The wedding is cancelled. Ryan's belongings are packed. Attached is the timeline. Photographs, screenshots, and evidence. I added everything. The messages, the locations, the photographs, the lies. Then I pressed send. For a moment, nothing happened. Then my phone exploded. Ryan called. Ignored. Ryan called again. Ignored. Again. Ignored. 17 calls in less than 20 minutes. Vanessa called. Ignored. Then Mark called. I answered. His voice sounded panicked. What did you do? I told the truth. Everyone is losing their minds. Funny how that happens when lies stop working. Ryan is furious. I laughed. Good. This is messy. Eliana. No. Mark? The affair was messy. I'm just exposing it. He sighed heavily. I guess I deserve that. Yes. You do. Then I ended the call. An hour later, pounding erupted against the apartment door. Ryan. I recognized the rhythm instantly. Bang. 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 Eliana. I stood and walked calmly toward the entrance. Open the door. I unlocked it. But only enough to stand in the doorway. Ryan looked exhausted, disheveled, desperate. For a brief second, I saw the man I used to love. Then I remembered the lies, the manipulation, the months of deception, and the feeling vanished. We need to talk. His voice cracked. No. I said calmly. We really do. No. We needed to talk 3 months ago. His eyes moved toward the stacked boxes. What is this? Your stuff. You packed everything. Yes. You changed the locks. Yes. His face hardened. You can't do that. I just did. Eliana. No. I raised my hand. For the first time since this nightmare began. He fell silent. You lied to me. His eyes dropped. You involved other people. Silence. You planned to move in with Vanessa. More silence. You planned to disappear while I was at work. He finally looked up. I was trying to avoid hurting you. I almost laughed. The arrogance of that statement was unbelievable. You were trying to avoid consequences. His shoulders slumped. The truth had nowhere left to hide. I'm sorry. There it was. The apology. The universal, final act of every betrayal. Too late. I know. His eyes widened. I know you're sorry. Then. But being sorry doesn't rebuild trust. He looked like he wanted to argue. Instead, he looked away. Because deep down he knew, trust doesn't collapse in one moment. It collapses through repetition. Choice after choice. Lie after lie. And eventually, there isn't enough left to save. We're done. Ryan. The words sounded surprisingly peaceful. Not angry. Not emotional. Just final. He stood there for several seconds. then nodded once, a tiny movement, a silent surrender. Without another word, he began carrying boxes to his car. One trip, then another, then another. I watched from the doorway, not because I wanted to, because I needed to see the ending. Eventually, the final box disappeared. Ryan stood beside his car, looking back, one last time. I didn't wave. Neither did he. Then he drove away, and for the first time in months, the silence felt honest. 3 months later, the wedding was officially canceled. I lost deposits, lost plans, lost the future I thought I was building. I didn't care. Some losses are actually escapes. Ryan moved in with Vanessa. According to mutual friends, things deteriorated quickly. Relationships built on dishonesty rarely become healthier after exposure. Apparently, arguments became constant. Trust issues appeared immediately. Suspicion replaced excitement. The irony would have been funny if it hadn't once been my life. Mark eventually apologized. A real apology. Not an excuse, not a justification. An apology. He admitted he had known more than he originally confessed. He admitted guilt had been eating him alive. I accepted the apology. But I didn't rebuild the friendship. Some bridges survive damage. Others don't. A few weeks later, Ryan sent a long message. Pages of regret. Fear. Confessions. He said he panicked. Said he got scared about marriage. Said reconnecting with Vanessa had confused him. Said he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Said he wanted another chance. I never responded. I blocked his number. Blocked his email. Blocked every path back into my life. Months later, I heard he and Vanessa broke up. Two people who entered a relationship through secrecy eventually discovered they couldn't trust each other. Neither was surprised. Neither should have been. As for me, I moved to a different apartment, a smaller one, a quieter one, a place with no memories attached to it. I haven't started dating again. Not yet. Healing isn't a race. Trust takes time to rebuild, especially after someone teaches you how easily it can be broken. But every day gets a little easier. Every day feels a little lighter. Sometimes I still think about that moment at Mark's apartment, the phone ringing, the speaker activating, Ryan whispering, "If she asks, say I'm at your place studying." He thought I would never hear it. Thought the lies would continue working. I thought he could keep two futures alive until he decided which one he wanted. Instead, one careless whisper exposed everything. And when every phone started lighting up later that night, every secret finally stepped into the light. That wasn't the moment my engagement ended. It had ended long before that. That was simply the moment the truth caught up to the lies. And the moment I finally chose myself.